for the spinning wheel to stop spinning. I guess I would like for these first strokes to be in the painting. Come. All right, I think I can get started now. Just a second. All right, hello friends. I'm going to start painting. I'll do my introduction in just a minute. Ooh, that was nice. Ooh, so was that. Artists are so easily pleased. Now, if that's kind of big and red, then it seems to me the very next thing ought to be big and pink or orange. Yeah. Ooh, that's nice. Kind of a figure eight, I guess, eh? Well, let's pick up some little sticks here. I'm using here at the moment, whoops. No matter how carefully I try to hold long sticks, they always break. What I'm using here at the moment is watercolor sticks. I don't have very bright colors. That bothers me a little bit. So hang on, I'm breaking out now some watercolor pencils, which generally speaking, they don't make nearly a broad enough line for me, but Yeehaw! All right, let me stop there before I yeehaw anymore. Hello friends, my name's Dan. Welcome to Daily Art Adventure number 701. Sorry if you missed number 700. That was this morning. 701, starting another Skyline of Raleigh, I guess. Almost goes without saying. Skyline of, now would I rather be doing, New York, London, Rome, Paris? Oh, you bet, of course. But I don't live in any of those places, so Raleigh it is. This is a commission. I'm being paid. Well, I expect to be paid, I should say. I expect to be paid for this particular painting. I have no reason to think it won't happen. All I have to do is paint like Dan Nelson. Now, it's ironic that I say that because, in fact, in my correspondence with my client, she actually mentioned another famous 20th century American artist, which will remain unnamed. Because it's almost inappropriate to commission an artist to do a painting and then say, oh, I'd like it look a little bit like so-and-so. I'm not saying it is inappropriate, but I am saying it kind of skirts along the edge of inappropriateness. Anyway, no problem at all. No problem at all. She wasn't saying I want it to look like so-and-so. She was just referencing that she liked the way this particular artist used color. And anyway, so I am not going to violate my. I mean, if this was an illustration, by the way, that's a good interesting point. That is, in fact, one of the differences between the world of fine art and illustration. And part of the reason why, at least in my world, generally speaking, if you pay me for illustration work, generally speaking, you know, inch per inch, so to speak, it costs more than for my fine artwork, which is quite ironic, I admit. But if you hire me to do an illustration, then you can yank me all over the map. You can say, I want it this, I want it that, I want it to look like this and that, I want these colors, I want this shape, and so on. Because that's what the nature of the illustration industry is. The client gets to specify exactly what they want. And that's why, generally speaking, you pay more for an illustration. All right, I think that looks pretty good. I actually like that. Now, let me turn you just a little bit and show you the photograph, which coincidentally, my client also sent to me. Now, let's talk about the legality of this a little bit. I am quite certain that my client did not take, well, look at all you guys chatting up. Oh, sound is bad. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. Let's try this. Sorry about that. Okay, hang on. And I didn't have my monitor on. I might have heard that. Okay, now bear with me. Sorry. So I think this sound will be good now. Hang on just a second. I need to turn off some technical overbleed or something like that. Okay, sound got better. All right, so this is the photograph my client, my buyer, it's really a more appropriate term, has sent to me. And don't tell anybody, but I'm pretty sure that she didn't take the picture, okay? So is it really legal for me to do a painting that was possibly done by a professional photographer? Looking at that, I'm guessing it was a professional photographer. And my answer is going to be, it's a gray area, I'll admit that. Let's say, for instance, that the photographer were to see my painting someday. If he or she recognized my painting as having been done from his or her photograph, then I have violated. Now, I don't mean by that I got caught. What I mean is, if my painting looks too much like the photograph, then in fact, yes, I think I have committed a violation of copyright. That is one of the blessings of being an artist instead of a painter, instead of a photographer. Because, of course, we are always playing, as painters, we're always playing with levels of abstraction. And I just feel like, excuse me, I'm going to sneeze. Twice, as a matter of fact. I was considering there, during my sneeze, right? I was considering possibly changing the horizon in my painting from horizon low to horizon high. But I think that for my buyer, I think the lavender sunset in this scene is a key element. So I don't think she would approve if I made the sky much shorter. Do you follow me? Okay, now I've scribbled in real quickly a rough facsimile of this photograph. Still doing so now, by the way. But I'm going to turn my mind to how can I change it even a little bit? How can I change it a little bit more? Again, so that I'm not copying the photograph quite so closely. You may ask me whether I've ever done this scene before. The answer is yeah, probably about 30 times. So that, by the way, it sounds to some of you like I'm just violating copyright like crazy. Well, part of the reality here is this is the classic view of our Raleigh downtown skyline. And you've seen me, if you've watched me at all, you've seen me do it several times already, or very close to it. That certainly enters into the copyright equation here. It's not like it's an unusual photograph. It's very common. All right, somebody, David, just gave a long comment about copyright. Huh, Dave makes an interesting point. Never thought of it that way, David. What would happen if a photographer wanted to take pictures of our painting? It's hard to imagine that. I mean, you know, but yeah, he would have to modify it so significantly. My common sense rule, which is I think what you're reflecting there, is that, well, back to what I said originally. When the photographer looks at this painting, of course he will say, well, he or she will say, you know, I did a photograph from that same angle. But so has every other photographer in town. It's a slight exaggeration, I'm sure, but not much. It is the classic view. So, and if the photographer says, huh, by golly, I believe that is my photograph, then again, then I have violated copyright. As it is, I'm just using this photograph as a rough approximation. Oh, and by the way, one of the things my client said to my buyer, she said, I really want it kind of abstract. So not, and that, by the way, doesn't bother me at all. I know some artists would take umbrage, even if they don't know what the word means. They would take it anyway. I'll have a big serving of that umbrage, please, there, sir. They would take offense at, you know, somebody telling them, in a sense, what style their painting is. But I don't know. I guess I'm easy. And I have a mortgage to pay. And this is going to help me pay my mortgage and buy groceries and keep the lights on. Make sense? So it doesn't really bother me too much at all. I'm certainly not being paid top dollar for this painting. Oh, no, 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 no. And anytime, this is a classic case, anytime I start feeling like I'm being used and abused, you know, like I'm not getting paid enough for my world-class paintings, then all I have to do is think for about 30 seconds about all the other working people in America, let alone the world, and I divide how much time I'm going to spend doing this painting by how much I'm going to get paid, and I go, oops. No, I have no reason to complain. Look at my T-shirt. Oh no, never mind. Don't look at my T-shirt. I thought it was wearing for a second. I almost put on this morning my Keep America Grateful T-shirt, which my friend Stefan designed and is selling. Keep America Grateful. What a great line. And by the way, lest you think you discern from that cute little T-shirt saying which way my friend leans politically, let me guarantee you that you're absolutely wrong if you think you know which way he leans, because you don't. So that's one other thing I like about that T-shirt. Anyway, it says Keep America Grateful, and I was just going to say, man, all I have to do is think for, like as I said, 30 seconds, and about how much per hour I'm going to be paid for this painting. And I'm like, dang, thank you, Lord. I have nothing to complain about. Nothing to complain about. You know, do I wish, like somebody mentioned, rightly so this morning, that Mark Carter gets $100,000 per portrait? And the green-eyed monster of envy raises its ugly head inside my soul. You know what defeats the green-eyed monster of envy? The wide-eyed angel of gratitude, that's what. So, yeah. Besides, I bet you Mark, who has his own share of problems in life. What do you think? Usually there's enough problems to go around. Have you discovered that? Just when you think so-and-so's got it made, then you find out something about their life and you go, oh, ooh, I guess not. Anyway, so gratitude, that's the message here, is gratitude. So I'm very grateful for this job. And doggone it, here I am making money, making a living by doing this. Now, poke me in the eye. Am I a lucky son of a gun or what? I am very, right? So keep Dan grateful. That's what I am. I'm very grateful. And I am having fun. And I'm having fun with all you guys. All you. All right, listen. It's time for this again. Don't you people have jobs? David, Horatio, Susan, Foxhole Willie. Oh boy, I'm really glad to have your company. Of course, you know that. Bob Ross didn't do 5 happy little skylines, so that rules him out. I'm just doing more abstract stuff here. Oh, by the way, this is only for you regulars. That's right. Where else can I talk to myself? All right. So here is. Let me move my paints out of the way. Here's last night and today's painting. I think all finished. Although, again, I'll stare at it for the next week. And yes, Susan. Susan doesn't have to work. That's good. You just got to paint, huh? Anyway, there is my finished portrait of the little boys. I think it's finished. I'm quite happy with this face here. For those of you who weren't part of that operation, here's that boy, and here's this boy. He's a little more subdued here, and I'm not exactly sure why. But I'll continue to stare at it a little bit. I'm fairly happy with it as it is right now, and we'll see if I change it. And while I'm doing show and tell, let me do just a little bit more. I also, one of my local friends was teasing me earlier today about this painting that took forever. 4 trips downtown, and it's not sold. If anybody wants to buy a nice painting, I'm going to charge a nice price for this one. Left ear of the first boy, not good. Okay, thanks, David. I'll check in that. Yeah. Anyway, here is this, and I actually touched it up. I just want to show you tiny bit. I decided the area down here, and I'm going to zoom in there, needed just a little bit more light, and I wanted to pull some of this blue as if the aura was coming down. So all I did was add blue on this table, on the ground, on the sidewalk there, and a little bit on this table. So just that tiny bit lighter and tiny bit bluer. So, oh, and I didn't sign it yet, but I think that painting's all done. Okay, well, thanks for the tip on the left ear, David. I will check that out. By the way, by first boy, you mean this one, right? Or do you mean this one? Now you got me all curious. Call this the boy on the left and this the boy on the right, David. All right, but that's for another time. At the moment, let's paint the skyline before us here. Yahoo! Moving right along to Susan, good for you. Good for you. I had a good weekend this past weekend. I actually got to perform twice. Friday night we had about 25 or 30 people in our home. I played there. And then Saturday night I played at a coffee shop. And I'm getting closer to the moment when I'm going to do what I actually did years ago, which was play downtown outside. My wife is real cautious. She wants to make sure, because she knows how much I love music, that I could sacrifice our income to have the fun of playing. So she wants to make sure that rightly so, that my downtown painting routine doesn't get short-circuited by my desire to play music. Anyway, so some of you are, well, what do you play? Well, I'll go ahead and tell you the funny part. that when I'm playing in a situation like that, I'm actually surrounded by 48 instruments. Now, that sounds way more impressive than it actually is. That's because one of the instruments I play is harmonica. And if you play harmonica, some of you might know this, you actually have at least 12, in my case 18 harmonicas, so there's 18 of the 40, 48, get it? And I also play Celtic whistles, Irish whistle, penny whistle, whatever you want to call it. So I have another 20 or so instruments there. So, see, it's a bit of a trick. But I play basically 4 or 5 instruments. Guitars, trumpet, flutes and whistles, and saxophone. So I play guitar and wind instruments. If anybody's got an old French horn laying around, I would love to buy a French horn for a good price. And a cello. If anybody's got a cello laying around, I'd love to play the cello. But trumpet is the instrument that I work on. Everything, all the others I just play on, just play around with, more or less. Anyway, so that was fun. Got to play a little bit this weekend. Susan, have you told, do you play piano? I think you've told us. It seems, I know I've asked. I just don't remember if you answered or not. The rest of you, we want to know what Susan plays, don't we? Anybody else chime in if you play something? You know, it's by the way, it's not that unusual, really, honestly, in the world of art, to find that artists are also musicians, or conversely, it's not unusual to discover that musicians are artists. I don't know which is the truer way to put that, but there's a lot of overlap between those two. Over the years, I've found that many times to be the case. I am not by any means unusual in that regard. I'm a little bit unusual that I'm 65 years old and I still try to practice every day. That is a little unusual. Much to my wife's chagrin, by the way. She's proud of me, but she wishes I didn't have to practice so much. She's actually an excellent musician too. She was a piano performance major in college. She does not share my passion for practicing, however. So she's still good, but she doesn't want to practice. To each his own, or her own. Yeah, so far I'm kind of liking this painting. It's a little bit early to get excited. But when I do often get to this point in a painting and sort of lament the fact that this isn't my finished style. Now maybe it ought to be, you know? I mean, think about it. 20 minutes, 25 minutes for a painting, boom, I'm done. That could be profitable. And it certainly does have a certain good. I could Uncle 60. I am looking forward to reading that chat. I just saw it just flew by kind of quick, and I'll have to take time out here in a minute and read all of y'all's chats. one of the things I'm going to do to try to make this, to put distance between my painting and the photograph, is there's a tree here in the foreground, and I'm going to make mine considerably larger. But I am at a place here where now I have to pause because I've got a lot of wet white. Can I say that 3 times fast? Wet, white, wet, wet. White, wet paint. Wet, white paint. White, wet paint. I guess it's true either way. It's wet, it's white. And I can't do transparent glazes on top of that, or it'll just pick up the white and obliterate. It'll hide information. It'll cover stuff up. And I really don't want to cover stuff up. So I'm going to take a quick break here. But before I do, thank you, y'all, for telling me to fix my camera. Wow. Sorry about that. Piano. Thank you, Susan. I thought it was piano. Huh. Karen, same thing. Your husband is a musician. That's fun. Ah, Susan says things with strings. Gotcha. Guitar, ukulele, baritone ukulele. Fun, fun. Sorry, you guys. I messed up with the camera again. I'm so sorry. Hello, my Russian friend. My big painting, I need to add the light glow coming from the window to the side of your pupils. Maybe. I'll look at that. Thanks for your feedback on my big painting. Susan, I would like to test my ego and see if it can handle $100,000 paintings. I swear. I promise I could do it. All right, so a little break here. And then my daughter is cooking supper. She's going to call me for supper. But I don't think in the next 10 minutes. So bear with me. Sorry for the break, but I'm going to break here for about 10 minutes. All right. I'm back. And the white is mostly dry. Thank you for that little moment. My daughter brought supper up to me. That was a real boon. All right, now it's time for some major glazing. I'm going to start by doing what I feel fairly confident about, which is warm glazing on the buildings. Now, I started doing that and realized, oh, that's not going to work. Anytime I want to do a particularly transparent or pale glaze, I need to use medium, not just water. If you use water, when you first put it on the canvas, it looks great. But as the minutes tick by, the water invisibly runs down the canvas and leaves you with a much paler glaze than you had intended. So if I, like right now, I wanted quite a pale glaze, so I put medium on the brush. This is GAC 100. Now let's talk about this the sky, which is going to have a lot of pink and lavender and blue in it. Generally speaking, if I've got a big sky in a painting, then I go with a complementary underpainting. Or a Cape Cod underpainting. I'm thinking. This is me thinking. For some reason, I just don't feel comfortable doing that. I don't want to do complementary under this particular sky. Again, for some reason, I'm not sure I can completely explain that. Very intuitive. I hope my intuition is not deceiving me. So I'm going to go instead with a local color, or realistic, so to speak, realistic color under the sky. Which is warm at the bottom, yellow-orange, I mean, at the bottom. Then mostly, I think, a bunch of magenta, pinkish, and I definitely do not want to follow the cloud formation that's in the photograph. That would be a dead giveaway. That would be a violation of copyright, in my opinion. So I'm going to, in fact, quite carefully avoid, or try to avoid, the cloud pattern that's in the photograph. Now that's pretty. Once again, too bad that's not my style. I could stop right there, sign it, and be done. Instead, in fact, it's going to get even prettier, if I can use that dangerous word. It's going to get even prettier in just the next few minutes, because I'm going to do a second layer of white stuff, opaque white. Again, for anybody who's being, by the way, Uncle 60, I loved your idea about me doing a a Dan painting day and have as many of my viewers, both of you, I have so many, hundreds, both of you, do a painting. I wouldn't say in Dan Nelson's style, that would be too restrictive, but I could say, if you've been influenced by me, if you've been influenced by your style, submit that ahead of time. This is all just brainstorming. Uncle 60 just mentioned this a few minutes ago in the chat. I had time to read it while I was scarfing down a quick supper. Yeah, what fun. Would love to do that. I've actually also given serious thought, consideration to doing a sort of an online painters forum where people send an image, send a photograph of their painting to me. I print it out on canvas, and then we all do a critique together. And I would not just talk about what I would do perhaps with your painting, but I would paint on the canvas that I had printed out. Does that sound like a good idea? That would be a pay-per-view, a pay thing. Some modest sum, I imagine. Anyway, at the moment my hands are too full just trying to do what I'm doing, so it's not going to happen tomorrow, but it might happen someday. It sounds like fun to me. I think it would be fun both for me to participate. I think of some of the teachers that I respect highly, and if they offered something like that, I'd be very inclined to jump on board. Something like that. All right, I just realized something I am going to do quite noticeably different from the photograph. This will help. This will help put distance between me and the photographer. I'm going to have a very definite light, sunlight. This is west. We're looking north in this view. So the sun, of course, is setting to our left. And there's not much differentiation on most of the buildings. There is on just a few. But I'm going to add that to my painting and make the left faces of these buildings noticeably lighter, brighter, whiter. So once again, that will just help put a little distance between me and the photographer. Now, let's do the beginning of cloud marks. And of course, I'm doing white again, which means I'll need to take another break. I'm very sorry about that. Maybe, I just thought of an idea. I'm not equipped, I'm not prepared to do it right now, but maybe one of the things I could do is, for moments like this, where I have to pause on this painting to wait for something to dry, I should try to think of something, some other art thing that I can do while we wait, so that I don't, leave you all hanging with the little spinning ball that says live, and then people comment I'm not live. I know that's irritating. Let me try to give some thought to that. How could I do that? You see me here painting, I was going to say a little while ago, my experimentation of keeping the abstract painting, the original abstract painting, visible or alive underneath the representational painting. That experiment, that quest continues to expand. I'm finding better ways to do that. I'm happy to say, even better, like a few months ago I was doing those 2 6x6 foot paintings of our main street, Fayetteville Street, where I was trying very hard to do that, and I succeeded to some degree, but wasn't completely happy with the effect I achieved there. I think I've matured a little bit in this peculiar endeavor. I know what I can do. I don't have to take a break. Hey, right? We were talking about you a little while ago, by the way. What is the golden label bottle? Oh, this is GAC 100, which actually is my very favorite acrylic medium. It dries a little bit harder. You know, acrylics are essentially plastics, right? And there's many different kinds of plastics. The other day I was just trying to describe it, like the difference between a typical little boy's plastic fire truck, fire engine, versus Lego, right? If you're familiar, the Lego is a much harder kind of plastic. So plastics come in a wide range of hardness, and this is not a scientific analysis, but my sense is that the GAC 100 dries a little bit harder, therefore a little bit more transparent than many of the other acrylic mediums. All right, I said, I think I know what I can do here. A little bit of an experiment here. Rather than waiting for this white to dry, I think I can just start doing some drawing. It is, in essence, my second layer, second phase of drawing in acrylics. Which is also my third phase of drawing, you know, skinny lines, thinking like a drawer. Because I drew it once with the long-handled brushes, and then I drew it a second time with pencils, which you can still see. And so this is my my third drawing. At the moment, I'm using a combination of purple and magenta, or I think it's quinacridone of violet, I'm not sure. And carmine. I think that's just one of the pigment chemical names for what broadly could be called magenta. Those last strokes were just nothing but, of course, just nothing but pure abstract play, if you will. Because I'd been too tight for several minutes, so my hands have sort of a timer built into them. I'm not being technical here. I don't mean that in a literal way, but it does feel sort of like there's a timer, and if I've been too fastidious, too tight for too long, then my hands just fly off and do something on their own, completely unrealistic, completely non-objective. So I don't normally do this at this time. I usually wait for the white to dry because I do not want my brushes to pick up any of the white paint and smear it around. But because I'm doing pretty skinny lines, I'm finding myself able to avoid that unpleasant effect. If my brush starts picking up white stuff, I just pick up my brush and re-dip it in paint, so it's no. Does that make sense? So it's no longer smearing white paint around. Again, I am in a clearly a drawing. I'm trusting you all to know what I mean by that. As opposed to painting big, wide marks, say like with a brush like this, right? So generally, I don't call that drawing. So I'm firmly, at the moment, firmly in my, what feels to me like my left brain, analytical, mathematic, measuring, that side of my brain. And I've mentioned many times before, I didn't used to do this. And there's a part of me that would still prefer not to. Years ago, I used to not sort of interrupt my broad painting and to do careful drawing. I would instead just allow the image to emerge even more gradually, without lines, so to speak. Without this liney kind of stuff. Does that make sense? Without lines, I would allow the images, the scene to emerge out of the fog and mist, little by little. The problem was, I was discovering that I would be 70 or 80% into a painting, and then would discover that there were significant drawing errors. And it was very difficult to go back and fit them. So I changed my strategy so that now I do what you see me doing now, which is, again, a very conscious draw early period. When people take my classes, it's at this point in the class, if we're going step by step, it's at one of these points that half the class goes, yippee, I get to draw because I like drawing, and half the class goes, boo-hoo, because they don't like to draw. So it appeals to some minds and not to others. That is that kind of stuff. That's one of my favorite kinds of strokes. Just completely childlike, natural movement, indicating a texture that late in the painting process will begin to make sense or begin to look like something. At the moment, it just looks like a childish scribble, but it will turn into something. Yes, you really can paint more quickly with two hands. It's another reason for forcing yourself to learn to paint with two hands. You can paint faster. Not twice as fast because you're not doing it the whole time, but I would say noticeably faster. One of my favorite tricks right there, by the way, is put down a mark, a stroke with your brush like this, and then just rub the butt end of your brush through it and turn it into two lines instead of one. Does that make sense? So now there's a line on each side. Actually, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 lines there. Dark, 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 light, dark. That probably didn't make sense to you. Sorry about that. Trust me. It's true. So this is my third drawing, and with each drawing I get slightly more realistic, slightly more accurate, slightly more detailed. All three of those words are correct. A little bit more accurate, a little bit more detailed. And this is not my last phase of drawing either. So I still don't have to you know, I should have scribbled on that bit while it was wet. It's already dry, so to no avail. So I still, even at this point, I do not need to finish the drawing. I don't need to get it all perfectly correct or accurate or detailed. This is not yet the finished layer. I've got several to go. As you can tell, I'm a big fan of that general procedure. Don't force yourself to try to. Now with each layer, I basically try to draw as accurately as I can. I don't try to make mistakes. I just don't. I just do it really quickly, so that because of the quickness, you know, it comes with it. I know I'm making mistakes, but I don't do it on purpose. I try to be basically as accurate as I can without going super slow. Does that make sense? I'm as accurately as I can, painting quickly, which accomplishes several things. One, it of course helps get the painting finished in a reasonable length of time, and of course then the inevitable corrections. Wrong, right, wrong, or no, wrong, a little more correct, a little more correct, a little more correct. that means I end up with a lot of interesting textures in the underpainting that I wouldn't have if I got it all right first time, so to speak. All right, I'm going to do some green, green, green down here. And I need some medium. That's too dark. So let's add some medium to that. There we go. Add some purple to that green. So this is a tree that's growing up. There is a tree in the photograph, but it stops at about there. So I'm just going to make it come up, but still be able to see the top of that building. Purple, or violet, if you like to be artsy and use the more accurate term. Purple in green is a really, really fine color. Mixing purple and green. All right, I think I can keep right on going this time with some more glazes in the sky. Boy, oh no, I can't. That's the white is too wet, so sorry about that. So finally, after all that, I might have to take another break. Let me think for a minute here. Well, hello, Harold. Your name came up, our grandchildren. No, that was yesterday. One of our kids said something about, where's Harold? And today my daughter Alicia said, we were talking about needing carpentry assistant at the house. And she said, where's Harold? And I said, he's in Lynchburg. I'm assuming you're still in Lynchburg. Is that a carefully guarded secret? I hope not, because I just let it out. Everybody, Harold's in Lynchburg. I'm thinking. I want to add a lot of blue to this sky. Okay, that's the right thing to do. So I do have to take a break. Sorry. I have to wait for everything that's white here to dry, especially up here in the sky. Need to wait for that white to dry. And I expect to be back hopefully within 10 minutes again. So sorry to do that to you. But I want to do, after it's dry, I'll do blue up here. Very pale, very light, phthalo blue mostly. Maybe also some purple. So the very warm and very cool blue. And then another layer of white, and I think I'll be done. No, I mean, done with the acrylic stage. Right. Hey, Harold, doing well. Excellent. Good for you, doing 4 abstracts now. Excellent, fantastic. Well, we miss you. Good to hear from you. Little break, everybody, and I'll be back as soon as I can. Thanks. Bye-bye. All right. Thank you for your patience. Sorry for that break. Now, I think just a few more glazes, and then white, and then I switch to oils. If I can get through all of that tonight, I'll be quite happy with my progress. For starting this late in the day, If I can get that much done, I'll be quite happy. I'm going to try something different here. I'm going to leave that blue on those brushes. Pick up some slightly smaller brushes. Make sure they're wet, and just do some medium on them. Ooh, yeah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Now, the other thing I'm looking for, I'm thinking, I've covered entirely too much square inches, covered up too much acreage, as I like to say there. Before it's dry, let's lift out. Ooh, that's nice. I've never done this before exactly like this. So I just did two things new. I'm picking up a second pair of brushes, putting just medium GAC 100 on them, blending, and then wiping out with rags. Do just a little bit more, again with some even smaller brushes. You just witnessed the disaster, folks. I'm going to paint first and then tackle that disaster. Look at that. My hand hit this, and it acted like a diving board. Oh my goodness. And it's on my floor. Of course, you can imagine what condition my floor is already in. But anyway. Oh my goodness. And you were there when it happened. Look at this. All right, so we're going to take another break, whether I wanted to take one or not. The most of it landed on my drop cloth, but not all. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. Okay, break time. Back in a little while, as soon as I clean up. Hello, are we on? All right, sorry about that completely unexpected break there. What a mess, what a mess. I'm standing on squishy carpet. It's wet and has soap on it. And I'm probably gonna have to break out the carpet shampooer if I want this carpet to ever be anything close to gray again. Oh, that was a disaster. I jumped into the shower with my clothes on, folks. Literally jumped into the shower because I paint on my t-shirt, paint on my shorts and socks and shoes. I did not jump in the shower with my shoes on. Oh boy. It's a good thing we're having fun. Was I talking about having fun? I think I was at some point. life, not without its little travails. I forgot to paint this tree last layer. Darn. That means I have to go back and do that. Fill that in a little bit. All right, is anybody back? Nope. Well, yeah. Hello, 11 of you. You are back. You're just not saying anything. That's quite all right. Some of you are still in shock, as I am, about what just happened. Others are you saying, why? What just happened? Okay, my elbow or my hand caught this clipboard, and it went just like a springboard on a swimming pool diving board. Just went boing, 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 and both of those blue containers went literally flying up in the air, and I managed to catch one of them, but not before a bunch of its contents fell on the carpeted floor. Some of you are saying rightfully so, what in the world are you doing with a carpeted floor in your studio? Well, that's a very good question. The answer is, this room was not designed to be a painter's studio. It's designed to be a bonus room, just like, you know, your house. But it became my studio, and for many years it was only my illustration studio. And my illustration tools, materials are not quite as dangerous or volatile as my painting. But then when all the kids moved in, downstairs and up, I had to turn this into a secondary, a backup painting studio. So that's why I'm painting in it, and that's why it has carpet that used to be gray. Now it's gray and blue. That's a slight exaggeration. It has suffered much damage before tonight, of course. But still, we were trying to keep it a reasonable facsimile of grayness. It's one of those things that'll definitely have to be replaced before we can sell the house. Oh well. All right, let's try to focus on the job at hand, which is my last layer of white before I proceed to oil. Now, every once in a while, somebody will ask me whether does my white acrylic paint have medium in it. Well, at least you're what's the word, confused enough to ask. That's good, because something in you should be saying, if the answer is yes, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, so your intuition is correct. No, it would not make any sense at all, ever, in my opinion, ever, to put a medium in a white paint. So, no, of course there's no medium in it. White is the essence of opacity, right? And medium is the essence of transparency. So those two would just be fighting against each other, in essence canceling each other out. So no, you do not put any medium in the white. It's just straight out of the bottle. Looking to see if I don't have a bottle here. My acrylic paints are fluid acrylics, liquid acrylics, and not the thick pasty stuff that comes out of a tube. You can use that if you want to, but it just adds more work. So each of these little pots, I've just explained this many times, but I'll do it again, is about 20 or 30% paint and 60 or 70% medium. Okay, so much more medium than paint. And if you buy an expensive, high quality acrylic paint, that ratio could be as high as 90%. That is to say 90% medium and 10% paint if you buy a real high quality acrylic paint. I do not, because it's just a waste of time and energy to work that hard. So I just buy fluid acrylic, liquid acrylic, and then I don't have to work so hard at thinning it down because it's already somewhat thin. Does it make sense? But do remember that you want these paints, not the white, but you want all the other colors to be transparent. That's why you add so much medium. It is not extremely unusual to find artists who, like myself, paint acrylic underneath and oil on top. I think the significant contribution I make to that conversation is that my acrylics are all transparent, except for the white, of course. I mean, transparent white is a complete oxymoron, right? There is, I've mentioned this before because it always kills me, some paint company, I forget which one, I saw it in the store years ago, I haven't looked since to see if it's still there. Some acrylic paint company does in fact sell a bottle of paint called transparent white. Now whoever named that, either they're not an English major or an English speaker and they don't know the meaning of the word transparent, or they just assume that none of you guys, either they're that dumb or they think you're that dumb. Either way, the term transparent white, did I say white? Did I say transparent acrylic? What I meant was white transparent. It says transparent white, and it's what it says on the bottle, which is a complete oxymoron. Let me tell you what that bottle should be filled with. Air. Now what they really mean, of course, and you could probably figure out, what they really mean is translucent white, but of course they were probably afraid that not enough people would even know what that would mean, because people get confused about transparent, translucent. Anyway, I digress. ADD, anyone? Let's bring it back in, Nelson. Okay. So I'm nearly finished with my last layer of white, and which is my last layer of acrylics, except that I forgot to do the tree. So before I move on to oils, I am going to do that tree. But I believe I'm going to end the broadcast here in just a few minutes and call it a day. All right, thank you so much for your company. The other thing I have to look to now is cleaning up my messy carpet. Hello, Deborah. Yeah, I don't know. I know we're going to get hit by the edge of the hurricane. It doesn't look like it's going to come inland as far as us. I have had my share of hurricanes in North Carolina in the last 30 years. The first one was exciting and terrible, and I don't need any more. And I've had several since the first one. My first big North Carolina hurricane was Fran in 1996, and I do not care to go through that again. All right. I will end there. Thanks so much. Hope to see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow, I thought that I had a live painting event, but in fact it got postponed 2 weeks. So tomorrow I hope to just go downtown and do my own painting event in the heart of downtown Raleigh. But I might work on this in the morning before I get on. So anyway, that's all. Thanks for your company. Hope to see you tomorrow. Yes. Deborah, has it come through where you are yet? You're on the other side of the state, aren't you? Tampa, Clearwater? Yeah. So did you get anything over there? I haven't looked at a map in the last little while. Or is it still coming your way? I don't know. But I think you're safe, right? I hope so. Bless everybody in the path of this storm. May you all be safe. All right. Bye-bye.